So, I played Undertale. I'm going into this game knowing absolutely nothing about it. I recently bought a Nintendo Switch 2, and I had 3 games to start out. First, um, I had Mario Kart 8, and that was $60. So I wanted to see if there were any free games or like cheaper games or games that were on sale. So um, I found this weird one that I had never heard of before, Undertale. So I got a game that's usually $20 for $9.89. So I bought it because I know absolutely nothing about it, except that it's old and it's like a side scroller pixel game. I'm not a gamer at all. I don't know much about games. But the only thing that I associated with this game before playing it was the song Megalovania, because I had heard it in middle school around 2015, 2016. Apparently, the game came out in 2015, and the song had gotten really popular, but I had only ever heard the music. Aside from that song, the only other thing that I knew about Undertale before playing was I think I had seen some comics or drawings maybe of the Skeleton Brothers Sans and Papyrus. So I also wanted to add, before we start talking about the gameplay, is that I looked up how to save your spot because I didn't realize at the beginning of the game there are save points because I just walked right by them. There are 3 different routes you can take when you're playing this game. I think there's 3 main ones. There's like the pacifist route, there's a neutral route, and then genocide route, which freaked me out, but apparently that makes the game harder. All right, so my first time playing, I opened the game, and there's this little cutscene opening that tells you that monsters and humans once coexisted, and I accidentally skipped that. I thought you had to press the button to like move on to the next screen, but I accidentally skipped the whole opening cutscene, so I just appeared in this dark room and I didn't know what happened. And then I walked around and I found this little flower that introduced itself as Flowey the flower. And I thought, oh, that's cute. And then it starts telling me about these like friendliness pellets, and it tells me how LV means love, and everyone shares their love with friendliness pellets. He started shooting them, and he said, quick, catch them all. So I did, and then I took damage, and then he gets this evil face. He's like, you fool! Flowey told me how stupid I was and tried to kill me, but right before I died, this like fireball came out of nowhere. Toriel shows up, and she's interesting. She seems nice, but I'm a little wary because Flowey was just really nice to me, and then this other nice being shows up. That doesn't make sense. So then Toriel leads me through this kind of scary looking puzzle that probably would have taken me a really long time to figure out how it worked. And then she kind of shows me what the combat system of this game looks like, but she did specify just talk to everybody and then they'll leave us alone. And then she said she'd come and help me if anything were to happen. So I thought that was interesting. And then she brought me to a dummy. I was able to fight it, talk to it, give it an item, or flee, or spare it. The combat in this game is very interesting because other games that I've played are more like a first-person shooter or turn-based combat. In Undertale, I realized I don't really have control over the actions, but my actions affect what will happen. And I had to realize this while playing the game. And then I also realized if I were to talk to the dummy one turn, and then it does something, and then I talk to the dummy again, it'll usually say the same thing. So I realized the choices aren't cumulative in that way. You can't combine moves to talk your way out of a fight. Each option does something different and they don't affect each other. After the dummy, Toriel takes me into this room and she says, I need to be independent. And to be independent, she makes me walk down this really long hallway by myself. And then she tells me to stay in the room. So at first I was like, oh, I should just wait there. But it did seem like she wasn't coming back because there were a few times before that where she disappeared and then she came back really quickly. And I thought, well, the game is like a puzzle game. So it doesn't make sense that she would just come back when there's like another room I could go into. So I went through. I solved like one puzzle. This is also the point where I passed, I think, the first save point. Because I was just walking past this like flower bush and there was a star moving around like in the flower bush. And I tried to approach it to see if it would talk to me or anything. Because with other things you can approach it and it'll say something sometimes. I didn't realize I had to click on it. So I just walked past. So then after I solved the first puzzle, I decided I wanted to stop playing for a minute. Because I was in the car. We were driving for like 2 hours to go to something. Anytime I'm in the car, when I read on my phone or I read a book or I'm on my phone for too long, I get car sick. And I was starting to feel car sick while I was playing the game, so I needed to take a break. But then I thought, hey, no problem. I'll just open it back up and I'll finish that puzzle and I'll figure out why I keep falling through the floor and why there's rose bushes underneath. And then I'll just go through the door and get out. It'll be fine. It'll all work out. So imagine my surprise. 30 or so minutes later when, I'm feeling better, I've had some water, I turned my Switch back on, and the game just started over. I was a little upset because I had already solved a puzzle and I was in the middle of another one. It was just a little annoying, but I was able to do the puzzles again, but a little faster this time. And then this is also the part where I looked up how to save the game because I wanted to not make that mistake again, and spoiled the different ways to play for myself. So the second time I played, this is after the game started itself over because I didn't have any save points yet. I met Flowey again, but instead of falling for its fake niceness, I decided to dodge the friendliness pellets, 3 or so times, and then its dialogue starts rumbling, and it says something like, "You know what's going on, don't you?" And then it gave me this circle of death, but I was again saved by Toriel. I think Flowey is really creepy. I feel like it's gonna be a bigger boss towards the end of the game, so I'm a little nervous about that. So Toriel, she shows me how to fight again. In reality, teaching me how to stall so then she can get there. And then she leaves me in the hallway again, But this time, instead of hesitating and pacing around and waiting for her to come back, I decide to go through the door and I solve puzzles. The puzzle where you have to follow a path to avoid falling through the floor probably took me 6 tries to get through without falling. Because one, I kept misjudging where the safe parts were. And then the first couple times I didn't realize that the flowers underneath were telling you where the path was. And then I get to this weird tree. I run into Toriel and find a save point, which the tree is actually outside of her house and the save point is outside of her house. And the save point is called Ruin's Home. And then this is also where I looked at the Undertale wiki to see the other save points, and I realized that there were 3 save points before that one. So we go inside, and I sleep in this little bedroom that she gave me, and I, go around and try to approach everything, because sometimes there are signs, and you can, read what it says, or you walk up to a desk, and it'll tell you, this is a desk, something like that. I walked around, and I found another room, and it turned out to be Toriel's bedroom, so, I got on her bed, I read her diary, just normal stuff. that you do in someone else's house. I found a third door, which was locked, so I couldn't go in there. And then I walked around a little more. I found Toriel in her sitting room. And then I went into the kitchen. And then I found these stairs. I went down like 3 or 4 times. And every single time Toriel showed up and like dragged me back up the stairs. My only dialogue options were either agreeing with her or asking how do I leave. And I didn't want to like push her because I didn't know if she was gonna like blow up and try to kill me or something. But I came back to her because I realized there's nothing else for me to do except go back out into the ruins. And there's no way for me to like get back up the hole I fell out of. Oh, because apparently I had climbed a mountain and fell into a hole, and that's why I'm here. And then she led me down the stairs and told me I can't survive out there, and all the other humans never come back, blah, blah, blah. And she said this weird thing about this guy. I think it's pronounced Asgore. I'm not too worried about it. But that is a weird, because it was red when she said it, and it was like shaking, so kind of weirds me out. And then she shocks me. She says I have to fight her, so I did twice. And the first time she almost killed me. She got me down to like 1 or 2 health. And when I was down to that little, I realized all of her attacks were dodging me. I realized I could move my heart around, and her pellets were like, so if this is my heart, her pellets were like going around like this. No matter where I moved the heart, they would always avoid the soul. I realized she wasn't gonna let me pass, and at this point I didn't know that you could press mercy and you could spare your opponent. I can't just talk to her because she's not gonna let me through. I'm gonna have to attack her. I attacked Toriel like 4 or 5 times. Her attacks kept dodging my soul, so I was able to live long enough to get her down to 0 health. And I realized the whole time it feels like she's not trying to kill me, but she's not letting me pass. I had to attack her. I didn't know what else to do. So she like collapsed. She held her chest. She told me I was stronger than she thought. And then she got Thanos.
Oh my gosh.
And then her heart broke. It was really sad. She gave me like a cell phone so I could call her if I was ever in trouble while I was in the ruins. And after I made it through the door, I thought, oh, maybe she's reformed or maybe she's healed. So I tried to call her number and it didn't work. It would say, there's no one there. I felt so bad. Like, I didn't want to kill her. I just wanted to proceed. So I make it through the door and I walk through this like spooky forest. There's like this shadow zipping around. So I stop and I try to see, but it turned out to be Sans, and he's actually like super chill. And he warned me about his brother, and then they both told me continuing would mean my downfall. So I ignored that and just walked through, because like, what am I gonna do? Go back to the ruins and see Toriel's corpse? No thanks. It's a little macabre. So then I reached this part of the game, which I think is called Snowden. It's like a little town. I also met this guy named Doggo, I think, who doesn't want you to move at all. So I had to like walk past him and stop so he wouldn't attack me. Eventually I was able to convince him that I wasn't doing anything bad. I did like Sans and Papyrus's little funny moments where they look at me and then they look at each other and then they look at me and then they look at each other. I think the game is actually pretty funny sometimes, which is weird. I've never experienced a game where it's funny like that. And then I made it through a few easy puzzles because apparently Papyrus is an idiot. And then on this play, I finally made it to the Snowden Spaghetti save point, and that's where I stopped because I got car sick again. But at this point in the game, I've put in 73 minutes and made it to level 5, which for me I think is pretty good because the only other game that I've put more time into is Minecraft. And I play it like twice a year, maybe. And it's like 5 hours each time. And I just build a really big, complicated house. I'm not a gamer. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't game very much. I don't do it, okay? It's just not my thing. Snowden was the next section I made it to in the game, and I turned it on for the third time, and this time I was playing in bed instead of the car. And I passed Papyrus's spaghetti, which I realized I can't eat, and it's like frozen or something, and then there's a microwave, but you can't use the microwave either. So I go and I solve another puzzle, and I ran into these two guys, like a dog couple, and I got stuck here and lost like 3 times, so I gave up and went to sleep. And they kept saying I smelled weird, and one of my actions in the battle was I was able to roll on the ground. If I do that, they say I smell less weird. So I kept doing that, and then I was able to spare them and escape the fight. But the first couple times I thought I had to attack them, and I had to attack 2, and my health was going down every single time. It's not like one of them gets a turn, and then me, and then the other one, and then me. It's me, both of them, and then me. So I have to fight both of them at the same time. So I made it out of there. Papyrus gave me a few more puzzles, which for me were simple, I think. And then I made it to the dog house save point. And I solved another ice puzzle with these like X's that turn into O's. It was kind of interesting. And then I went behind this really long wall where I ran into this cute, tiny little dog. And he's called Greater Dog. Because I realized earlier in the game there's a dog called Lesser Dog, but I beat him really quickly, so I kind of forgot about him. Greater Dog freaked me out a little, because I walk up, his little tail pops out, and then his head, and then he like stands up, and he's huge. I was a little freaked out, but I was able to like play fetch with him because one of the items I picked up was a stick. And then I go across this really long bridge where Sans and Papyrus are waiting for me again. And they decided not to kill me on the bridge, so I made it into the town. And I talked to everyone I could, and I visited all the buildings, and I went into the library, which was interesting, but not as informative as I would like about monsters and souls, but there was some stuff in there that was pretty interesting. But I tried to explore every little piece, because it's a puzzle solving game. That's something I knew going into it. If there's anything I need, it might be in this town. And also there is a story to the game. I'm like just starting it, so I don't really have an idea of what the story is, but I feel like it's important to understand as much as possible, because I'm not trying to speedrun this game. I'm trying to immerse myself. So then after that, I walked into this really foggy area, but I got stopped by this invisible wall, and I was approached by Sans. He appears in the mist, and we're both in silhouette. And then he forces me into a battle, and I couldn't escape, but he got me down to 1 HP, and then he captured me and put me in his garage. And he left me a little note. He left me some dog chow and a squeaky toy. But I escaped both times because Sans puts the bars too far away from each other, so you can just walk right through. After escaping both times, I was getting kind of frustrated because I couldn't beat him. And I even found this passageway where this giant wolf guy is like throwing big ice cubes into water. And when I was walking around Snowden, you could see the ice floating down the river. So I thought maybe I could float down the river and just like avoid fighting Papyrus again. But I tried both places where I saw the ice and the water, and I couldn't jump in, so I had to go back to Papyrus. That's where I stopped playing for right now. I'm still kind of stuck on this battle. At the time of writing, I was stuck on this battle. But at that point in the game, I had made it to the Snowden Town save point, and I put in 91 minutes of playtime, still on level 5. So anyway, that's my first experience with Undertale. All of this that I've talked about in this video was as of writing. I have progressed further into the game now, as of filming. And I'm definitely going to continue. I might make another video about it. I'm not sure how many people like Undertale, but we'll figure that out. And it's also come to my attention that most of my progression at the time of writing through the game was actually just a demo in the ruins section. And I thought it was more like a level 1, and I felt super bad that I killed Toriel. It was kind of on accident because I didn't realize you could spare opponents until after she died. So hopefully I didn't ruin anything. But I have been learning the actions that I make through the game will affect later things. But I did look up how long the game is, and it gave me like a range of like between 5 and 20 hours. It does depend on which run you're doing, but generally it said like the game is like 7 to 10 hours. I think I'm on track to finish the game in a reasonable amount of time, but depending on how often I play, it could still take me weeks, maybe months. But I just wanted to make this hopefully short video because I'm currently trying to play more games. Right now I'm playing the viral Tomodachi Life. I'm playing a little bit of Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. It's a little bit difficult for me. I think my skill level is just not up there. I started playing a game called Little Nightmares, which is another puzzle solving game. It's a little frustrating because my brain is just not geared toward puzzles, but I enjoy puzzles. So I need to figure that out. And I will see you next time. So you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Bye. I'm so weird. I'm sorry, everybody.